why don't we, with that thought in mind, start practicing? Thanks for being here, guys. Hey, I love that you're here. If you're watching live and if you're watching later, thank you for watching at any point. If you do like this yoga class that I will be teaching you today, which is I have no idea what I'm going to do, and most days I don't. I start out with sort of a loose idea. But if you like this class today, you could always subscribe and I'll let you know when are doing classes, and they're pretty much daily. Almost every single day I've been here. Go ahead and step your feet nice and wide apart. And then turn your toes out slightly so that your toes are pointing at the corner of your mat. And then bend your right knee and just notice where your knee goes. So what we're trying to do is develop greater proprioception, or awareness of our body and space. We're trying to decide how we move our body, because if we don't, our body will decide how we move, and that means we create dysfunction. So the simple act of just bending the knees and moving ballistically, that's dynamically, that's organically, just moving, right? Creating movement. It's mindful. So I really just tried to get that knee joint to push right over the second toe, and nothing is glued to the floor. Anything can move a little bit, and all we're doing is just checking in with the operation. We're checking under the hood, and it'd be like popping the hood and checking the oil, right? And that indicator light in the car, that's that thing that goes off that says, hey, there's a problem here. But the indicator light might not go off, and then we're in the hospital, or we're getting rehabilitated, we're going to a chiropractor. Step to the top of your mat. This class is going to be probably slow. It's going to be probably gentle, because that's what I'm feeling I need today, because for some reason I decided that doing a really strenuous class was a good idea yesterday, and it was. Look down at your feet, point your toes straight forward, and let's begin a salutation pattern. That just increases blood flow. If we coordinate breath and movement, it creates oxygenated blood that's going to be delivered to all the corners of our body. Reach your hands up, breathe in. Hinge forward and touch the floor. Lift your left leg into the air, breathe in. And as you exhale, step back. Inhale, press your chest forward, your right heel can lift and your left knee can go down. As you exhale, straighten, or actually lower that left knee down. You could do one of these salutations that I like so much. Just push through your heel. And just the act of straightening your leg with your spine at about a 90-degree angle to your leg is going to start to introduce some space back into that hamstring. Come forward, plant your hands, step back, and touch your chest to the floor. Push up and press back. Bend the knees a little bit. Take a deep breath in and exhale. When you take your next inhale, lift your right leg into the air. And as you exhale, step forward. And if your foot comes up short, it doesn't land between your thumbs, you can always pick it up and move it. Reach your right hand up into the air. When you exhale, reach down and step forward. Hands on the knees. Straighten your spine, and then straighten your legs, rise up, reach up. Exhale, hinge forward. Lift your right leg into the air. Exhale, step back. Inhale, your right knee down, lift the left heel, and you're trying to push your left knee over the top edge of your mat to get this release in the right hip. And then we push back to allow this left hamstring to lengthen. So in these two series of just two movements, we go right hip, left glute, and hamstring. And then we switch it up, right? So we're working not bilaterally. That would be this, with both feet in front of me, touching my toes kind of thing. We always operate from the principle that one side at a time is better. And then come forward, step back, and touch your chest to the floor. Push up, and press back. Take a deep breath in and breathe it out. Take another deep breath, lift your left leg. Exhale, step forward. Reach your left hand up. And as you exhale, reach down and step to the top of your mat. I'm slightly squatting and placing hands on the knees, straightening the spine first, and then straightening the legs after. What we're doing is simulating the best possible hinge pattern that we would do if we were doing a deadlift. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hinge forward. Lift your left leg. Exhale, step back. Inhale, heart forward, left knee down. Stretching left hip. Exhale, pull back. Stretching right glute and hamstring. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, step back and touch your chest to the floor. Push up and press back. Because we're not just stretching, we're developing strength. Lift your right leg up. Exhale, step forward. Reach your right hand up. Take a deep breath. Reach down and step to the top. Hands on your knees and drive into your heels and rise, reach up. Exhale, hinge forward. Right leg lifts. Exhale, step back. Inhale, knee down, chest forward. Exhale, pull the hips back and push through the heel. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, step back. Grip your mat. Touch your chest all the way to the floor and push up and press back. Now there's a lot of great instructional videos on our channel. There's one on push-ups. Be sure to check that out. Lift your left leg and exhale, step forward. Reach your left hand high, breathe in. Reach down and step to the top. Hands on your knees after your spine is straight. Then drive into the heels and straighten your legs. Reach up, we're gonna do one more set. Exhale, hinge forward. Left leg lifts. Exhale, step back. Knee down, chest forward. Exhale, pull the hips back and push into the heel. Pushing through the heel engages the quad, that releases your hamstring. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, step back. You can lift that back leg, that right leg, as you lower down if you want to work a little harder. Push up and press back. But as I record this is Sunday. I don't want to work too fucking hard. Lift your right leg up. Exhale, step forward. Reach your right hand up, breathe in. Reach down, step to the top. Hands on the knees and rise up. Exhale, fold. This is our last one. Lift your right leg. Exhale it back. Knee down, chest forward, breathe in. Pull the hips back and drive through the heel. Come forward, breathe in. Step back. Touch your chest. Push up and press back. Left leg lifts. Exhale, step. Reach your left hand into the air. Reach down, step to the top of your space. Hands on the knees, straighten the spine, straighten your legs, and reach up. And I always think it's worth mentioning that this inhale, hands in the air and hands down, it's not just a beautiful flourish, it's a functional pattern for keeping mobility in the shoulder. It's important. So there's nothing wasted. There's nothing superfluous when we're moving our body on our mat. We're going to step the right foot back and turn 90 degrees so that we're facing the long side of the mat. Turn the right foot out. We store a lot of tension in the hips. Our salutation pattern of stepping back, doing push-ups, reaching up, all of that business, it didn't help us open the hips much. It did, I take that back. But as soon as we take one foot and pivot it out from the other foot, as soon as our toes are no longer pointing in the same direction, wherever they are, then we're working into the acetabulum socket and making sure that that ball and socket joint of the femur and the hip are functional. So we can go back into that bent right knee, reach your hands away from your heart, flip your palms up, and let's come into Warrior Two. Because this is the epitome of yoga, right? This is the unmistakable sign that somebody's doing yoga. My daughter has this game called Animal Crossing, and if I'm gonna be really honest, because that's what I'm trying to be when I record these, I play the game more than she does. But the thing about Animal Crossing is it has all these little characters, these little animal characters that just walk around an island that you're building and do stuff. But they go to the plaza, and bear with me with this story because we're gonna hold this pose this long anyway, right? And they do yoga. These little tiny Nintendo characters, and it's unmistakable. They're doing yoga. And I was like, this is becoming nobody's immune to yoga anymore. Everybody knows what yoga is, right? Straighten your right leg, reach forward, and then place the back of your hand on the inside of your calf. Reach your left hand up into the air. Now, when I started doing yoga about 20 years ago, I knew the greatest secret in the world. And I think that when people start their yoga practice, they tap into that secret, and if they practice long enough, if the practice itself speaks to them, they start to discover something about life and about themselves that they never knew before. That's certainly my case. And one of the most important things I learned is that, it's this fabricated reality of screens and the safety and certainty of stores stocked and being able to go anywhere. We get this view of what life should be or what life is. And then we're really thrown off guard when it all starts to look differently. Rise up. Turn the right foot in. We're going to do those same two poses on the other side because these are really good poses. And I like to think of like warrior two and triangle. Reach your hands out, flip your palms up. Just hold it and breathe. They're those poses that are always in a practice, it seems like. Just like the word the and just seem to always be in a sentence. These are the poses we use quite a bit. And they're functional, and they're proven. They've been vetted over, a couple hundred years. Spread your fingers. Lift your heart and breathe. But it's amazing how uncomfortable people have gotten. And I'm not immune to that either. I want to go to the movies. But I also want people to not die. So that really factors into it. But everybody wants to open. It is May 17th, 2020. And if you're watching this 2 years from now, this is what some weirdo was thinking about during that whole pandemic thing that we're all just laughing about now. Come into triangle. Hands on your hips, tilt your pelvis. Reach your right hand up. And always think about reaching up first in your triangle because then you're going to keep your heart elevated. We don't want to try to touch the floor. That's not the goal. It doesn't mean your hand won't get there. But what we're trying to do is maintain a straight spine to pull tension across the right side body and the back and outside of the left leg. And that means we want to be in triangle, like a triangle, really solid with straight lines. A triangle is the most solid shape in nature. 6 of them can create a hexagon, another really important shape in nature. So we try to emulate important shapes in nature, and the yoga teachers of old, they gave all of these poses names that a child could relate to. Triangle, warrior, hero, bridge, and then there's weird stuff like cow face. Breathe. Release. Rise up. Just notice how you feel and how you feel differently, I hope, than you did 10 minutes ago when we started. Now the muscles are warm, our body's invigorated. We are a maybe slightly spotted banana. I have a few bananas. Come back into triangle on the right side. I have a few students that are really young bananas. And I love it when a person that's like 20, 22 years old can really gravitate to this, especially my method. But as I age, the practice changes. It changes for me, and then it changes how I teach. Bend your right knee and place your right hand on the floor, and if the floor is too far away for your hand, place a block underneath it, or place your elbow on your knee, and that's fine. Take your left hand and reach up and over. We're going to be old school today. Old school hatha. So although I have a lot of modern adaptations to poses, and some poses I don't like, some poses I think are unhealthy, but I'm going to guide you through some basic hip opening poses that are solid, man. They've been proven, they're tested, they're road tough. Now take your left arm, rotate your palm and draw it behind your back. And if you can get that right hand to the floor, place it there, place it on a block. And we're going to push the right arm, the back of the right arm, against the inside of the right leg. And I'm also going to push the back of my left hand against my right kidney. The kidney is above your butt cheek. And when I push the back of my hand against my back, it pulls my elbow back, and that pulls my shoulder back, and then I'm turning my chest. And as I turn my chest, I'm pushing my right knee away from my left shoulder. So there's opening and there's tension. Release. Drive into the right heel, come up nice and slow, take your time. Turn your right foot in, turn your left foot out. So if you've been watching this and you're like, this is too boring, this is too slow, and this guy's talking way too much, then check out a different class. Check out cardio. Maybe that'll be literally more your speed. I take no offense. Bend your knee, place your elbow on your knee. And reach your right hand. I literally had to think about that for a second. And reach up and over. And if you're new to the practice, or if your mobility or strength are limited, this is a great place to be. You can always adopt a shorter stance and place your hand on your knee. There's always ways to modify. So, I don't know who's watching or what their ability is, but I think a good rule of thumb is if you can walk to the fridge and get yourself a snack and go back and sit down on the couch, you probably have the ability to do some yoga. And you don't even have to call it that. Take your right hand and place it behind your back. Place your left hand on the floor if you're able. I'm more fond of the ability or the idea of just moving. I'm reminding my body how it can move, how it was designed to move. It's a really elegant thing we live in. It deserves our attention, it deserves our care, and that's a hard sell when you're young. Press into the left knee with the left arm. Look up at the right shoulder. Push into the left kidney with the back of your right hand. Breathe. Keep pulling the heart over your left knee, trying to lengthen your body. If there's more space to rotate with. Release. Drive into the left foot and take yourself back up. And now we're just going to switch sides again, going from the right and the left. And each time, my chest, my heart, gets a little bit closer to my knee and eventually below it. And maybe your experience will be different, but that's the goal. That's the ratio. This is literally turning up the volume of in your body. of how close your heart gets to the floor when you're standing on your feet, or at least 1 foot. So this time, we're going to place the left hand down, and we're going to place the left knee down. Now my left knee is near this edge, this long edge that's closest to your screen, and my right foot is going to go to the other edge. And then I'm simply going to try to lower my heart, and I can do that by sliding my hands out and bowing. Perhaps if you can slide your hands out and bow enough, you can place the elbows on the floor. And if you're close, you could always place a block under your forearms. Now, I'm not trying to relax here, at least not in the way that most people think. It's like soften and breathe. No, we can actually achieve more by creating a little bit of tension, because that's what a stretch is anyway. It's tension. If we increase the tension, we increase the active portion of our stretch, and that means a stretching muscle will be more affected at the center, what's called the belly of the muscle, versus the ends of the muscle where it becomes tendon and attaches to a bone. We're trying to affect the center, and you can take that literally and metaphorically. Just a couple more breaths here. And don't be afraid to move around. Don't feel like you need to be still. You can wiggle. You can explore. This shit is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-N-S. Lift and switch. Just walk those hands over. And once I turn to my left foot, I'm going to walk my left foot to the edge of my mat. And when I place my right knee down, I'm just going to step that right knee to the edge. Now, also bear in mind that every mat is not the same size, although there is sort of a standard. You might have a giant mat because you're a big person. Maybe you're a small person and you're just greedy and you like all the space. Maybe you're a big person trying to fit on a tiny mat, right? So it's a good rule of thumb, but there's no absolutes. Not in your mat, not in your movement, not in your life. There's nothing that applies 100% of the time other than love. You can step your hands wide and bend the elbows, bow the heart. And if your heart's close enough, maybe rest your elbows. And then, if you are moving, be slow about it and be deliberate about it and wiggle a little bit and just see where the tightness is. And when you find it, instead of trying to avoid it, try to be a good neighbor of it and bring it a cake and introduce yourself. See, this is what I worry we're losing with the constant acceleration of life and technology. We can't slow down. We want instant gratification, and in fact, that's not fast enough, and it's upsetting when Amazon takes more than 2 days to deliver a package, or, God forbid, Amazon or the store is out of something. I guess overall, I always go back to the message that we're getting way too comfortable. And yoga is a great tool for learning how to be comfortable with discomfort. Release. Come back onto your hands, and we're just going to lower the left knee down. And we're going to place our knees on this back long edge. And then, elbows down. And feet are close, big toes are touching. I'm going to let my knees just slide out. So I'm using gravity in the floor as leverage to help me open up my hips. But one thing that you can do that most people often don't consider doing is firing the muscle you're trying to stretch. And that means I'd like you to try just energetically sliding your knees in a half an inch. Feel that tension in your groin and in your inner thighs and your hip flexors. Create that tension and then slowly soften it. And you're going to find that those muscles, by helping to engage them and helping to reset muscle spindle receptors with a relaxation and a firing response, is your body is slowly adopting this attitude that it's going to have for a few hours that, it's okay. I think we're good. We can open up a little bit more. In all the time that I've been teaching yoga, and I'm just sort of pushing my butt backwards and forwards, maybe an inch or two, just a little bit of movement. Every once in a while, I try to squeeze and push my knees down, and then I relax them. And then I just feel what I feel. And I try to experience it, be present to the experience of it. A yoga practice is a little bit like having one of those puzzles that you would buy at the bookstore, a little puzzle that you hold in your hands and you try to unlock something, or you try to open something, or get two things to separate. Now, what if you had a puzzle like that you couldn't quite figure out, but you were always making a little bit of progress? And so that always kept you engaged. You never gave up. That's what my practice is like. It's like a puzzle I haven't solved yet, and I don't think I'm going to before my banana becomes banana bread. Go ahead and sit back, and then just sit to the left of your feet. Place your right hand on your knee and your left hand on the floor. And just hold your right knee down while you turn and look over your left shoulder. Just push with both hands. Left hand on the floor, right hand on the left knee. And maybe try to turn your heart a little bit more to the left. Release. We're going to lift our butt off of the left side of the ankles and move to the right. Left hand on the right knee, right hand on the floor. I'm going to push down and turn slowly. Release. Lift your butt. We're going to walk the hands to the top of the mat, and we're going to step the knees to the thumbs, because we're going to lie down on our back the way we would normally lie down on a yoga mat with our feet near the top, what many people consider the top, and we're going to plant those feet. Step your feet wide apart so that your feet are on the edges of your mat. And then drive into your heels until your butt lifts off the floor 1 inch. And then bring your butt cheeks back to the floor. Lift your feet so that you can position your palms right over your kneecaps. Bending the elbows, pull the knees towards the outside of the shoulders. Now I wanted to open up my hips. The hips is a great area of the body where we store like emotional tension. But I only stepped on the mat today with the idea that we want to work on stability of the neck. And bring your feet and knees together, lower your feet to the floor, slide your left leg straight. And I do want to tell you before we do this, you might be astonished at how difficult this is, what I'm about to ask you to do. But I want you to slide your hands under your lumbar. And if you don't have the medial rotation in your shoulders, or you have an issue with your elbows and you can't do that, that's fine. But I do want your left leg straight, your right knee bent, and your right foot flat on the floor. It looks like you were just kicking back at the park and watching the clouds float by. If you can get your hands under your lumbar, place them there. That way you know that there's space between your lumbar and the floor. Okay, that's important. Now I want you to make sure you don't push down into your lumbar and squish your hands when you do this. But I want you to take the back of your head off of the floor a half an inch without pulling the chin towards the chest. That means keep every side of your neck long, including the front of your throat. But take the back of your head off your mat a half an inch and just hold it. Remember, we're trying to gauge pressure of the lumbar. That's why our hands are underneath our back. So we're not trying to flatten out the back. What we're trying to do is strengthen stability of the neck. Now, as soft as you can, place your head back on the floor. Slide your right foot out so your right leg is straight. Slide your left foot back and plant the foot flat. Now we've got that foot planted close to our butt to help us maintain our lumbar curve. You can put a mild bit of pressure into your right heel too. And remember, your hands are under your lumbar if they're there to help you gauge whether or not you're just pushing down, tightening the belly, and trying to flatten your lumbar against the floor. Let's do the other side. And also, if your hands are not under your low back, that's okay. You're just trying to be mindful of pushing your lumbar against the floor. So try to keep that curve in your lumbar and take the back of your head off of the floor a half an inch. Now we're going to hold this for about 10 or 15 seconds. Slowly, gently rest your head on the floor. So step your right foot back, slide your left foot forward. We're going to do one more set. And I hope, not that you had a hard time doing that, but I hope you were kind of like, whoa, that was harder than I thought to just hold my head up, right? Okay, if you've switched out your legs and your right foot is planted, push your left heel down just enough that the back of your left knee is off the floor. And then lift your head a half an inch off the floor. Remember, you're trying to lift your head without pulling your chin down towards your chest. So you could also think about trying to lift the crown of your head, the sushumna. And the point, that point on your head is where a button on a baseball cap would be if you were wearing a baseball cap. Lower your head. Slide left foot back and slide right foot out. Push into right heel enough to unlock your right knee. Keep that curve in your lumbar. Try to keep the pressure off your hands, or try to keep the pressure of your lumbar off the floor if your hands aren't under your back. Lift your head a half an inch. Keep lengthening. Lift the sushumna, the button on the baseball cap. And bring your head as gently to the floor as you can. Now step your right foot back. Bring your hands out from underneath you. Place your palms down on the floor next to your hips. And when you inhale, lift your butt off the floor by pressing your feet down. Reach your hands up into the air. Keep reaching until the back of your hands are resting on the floor above your head and shoulders. As you exhale, bring your hips and your hands back to the floor. As you inhale, lift your butt, reach your hands up into the air. Hands touch the floor, and then we begin our exhale cycle, lowering hips and hands. The mindfulness aspect is trying to get your hands to touch the floor at the same time your butt does. One more time. Inhale, lift your butt, reach your hands up, reach your hands back. And this time when you exhale, leave your hands where they are above your head and just lower your butt to the floor. Slide the left leg straight once again and scoot your butt 3 inches to the right. With your left hand, guide your right knee across your body. Reach your right hand to the right and turn your head so you can see your right thumb. It's more important to keep your right shoulder blade on the floor than it is to get your left knee to touch the floor. We're lying on our back, and that means that our shoulders have leverage. Our shoulders are the stable point. That's the non-moving point. Release. Plant your right foot. Slide your left foot back and scoot your butt 3 inches left of center. Straighten your right leg. With your right hand, guide your left knee across your body. Reach your left hand left and turn your head to look at your left hand. While you're twisting, you can take deeper breaths because in that twist, it's going to, with deep breath, create this sort of internal massage of your visceral system. That's everything below your diaphragm, all your guts, stomach, organs. Breathe deep. And release your knee. Plant your left foot. You can either slide your right foot back, step your feet apart, and rest your knees against each other. This is a great passive therapy for the hips and the low back. Your hands can be resting at your sides, palms up, or out to your sides, or above your head, and your arms can be straight or your elbows can be bent. Your legs can be straight in a classical Shavasana. Or you can sit up into Sukhasana, the meditation pose, as I'm doing now. Regardless of how you've decided to rest or sit, close your eyes, relax your jaw without your mouth falling open, and check in with how your body feels at this moment. As we age, it's a tough trick, but hopefully we can learn. And I think the yoga practice can help us ease into that learning, that difficult learning, a little bit better. But as we age, we want to embrace what we have at that moment, which is wisdom and experience. And we have to recognize maybe we're not as youthful, maybe we're not as beautiful as we were when we were a young, just ripened, perfectly yellow banana. See, most people, if we don't evolve, They want to be the type of a banana that gets old inside and then hopes to just put a new coat of skin over it. But life is precious and life is special because it doesn't last. But while we're here, we try to learn to embrace everything, the change, the challenge, and the spots on our banana. I hope some of that resonated with you guys, and I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Namaste.